10 to shoot. Edwards.
Oh, Edwards! A signature slam!
Level. Timeout. 2:12 left. 4-point game.
Wow, what a dunk that was. That basically encapsulates what happened in the Timberwolves-Suns playoff series, as I am here today to talk about Kevin Durant, the man that calls himself KD. Well, KD got himself swept in the first round of the NBA playoffs again. Now he did it on a different NBA franchise. Man, oh man. This is Sports Guy Talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Kevin Durant embarrassing himself in the NBA playoffs again as he got swept to the Timberwolves. Despite forming another big three, Kevin Durant underachieved in the NBA playoffs on a different franchise as the Suns did not even win a game in the first round of the NBA playoffs. The Suns got swept to the Timberwolves despite having their top three players being Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So here it is. Has Kevin Durant ruined his legacy after getting swept in the NBA playoffs again? Absolutely. Is this even a real question? Of course, Kevin Durant ruined his legacy after getting swept in the NBA playoffs again. How are you going to call yourself one of the greatest players to have ever played the game of basketball, but you get swept in the NBA playoffs not once, but twice in the first round of the NBA playoffs? You look at how Kevin Durant really hasn't done a whole lot of winning ever since he left the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, KD wanted to leave the Warriors because he wanted to create a team where he would be the leader and where he would be able to win on his own. And clearly, he has failed at delivering that task since he left the Golden State Warriors. You look at how Kevin Durant, he was injured the entire 2020 season. Okay, I'm going to give Kevin Durant a pass for that. Then you look in 2021, he lost to the Bucks in 7 games in the second round of the NBA playoffs. I'm not going to get on Kevin Durant too much for that because Kyrie Irving did get hurt in that series and James Harden did not show up in that series at all for the most part. He was also playing on an injured hamstring, and Kevin Durant, to his credit, did hit the game-tying shot in Game 7 of the second round of the NBA playoffs. That was a great shot Kevin Durant made against the Milwaukee Bucks. Ultimately, they fell short in overtime. Look, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Life happens. But then after that, Kevin Durant never reached that far again in the NBA playoffs, and this is where I'm going to hold Kevin Durant accountable, because you look at how Kevin Durant got swept to the Boston Celtics in 4 games in the first round of the NBA playoffs. That was absolutely pathetic. Back when he was a member of the Brooklyn Nets, Kevin Durant disappeared in the biggest moments, and he got outplayed by Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown in that series. If you are supposedly one of the greatest players in the history of basketball and you're getting outplayed to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, that should speak volume as to how good you actually are come playoff time. Obviously, we know Kevin Durant is a great player. When it comes down in the history of the books, Kevin Durant will probably be remembered as a top 20, top 30 player of all time. However, here's my problem with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is such a beta male that he does not rise up to the biggest occasions in the NBA playoffs. And obviously, he did that again this year, just like he has been doing for the last several years. You look at how the Brooklyn Nets that year, when they got swept to the Boston Celtics, that was absolutely pathetic. And then, of course, they blame Steve Nash for the downfall of the Brooklyn Nets. They try to say, oh, it's the coach's fault. Oh, the coach don't know what he's doing. And that's my issue with Kevin Durant. It seems like ever since he left the Golden State Warriors, he does nothing but blame coaches all the time. Kenny Atkinson underachieves 1 year, we fire him. Steve Nash underachieves for a year or so, we fire him. Oh, we don't like the new coach we have. Oh, we're going to go ahead and request a trade, which is what Kevin Durant ultimately did in the middle of the 2023 NBA season. And you know what? The Brooklyn Nets actually acquiesced to Kevin Durant and told him to get out of the Brooklyn Nets, and they got an unbelievable haul in return for Kevin Durant. Obviously, the Phoenix Suns mortgaged the entire future for Kevin Durant, which was kind of understandable because Kevin Durant is a top 5 player in the NBA, or at least he was at the time of the trade. And Kevin Durant is one of the greatest scorers to have ever played the game. Nobody is denying Kevin Durant's talent, but what I am denying about Kevin Durant is that he doesn't have that alpha dog in him in order to rise to the biggest occasions in the NBA playoffs as the lead dog. And obviously, Kevin Durant proved that narrative right once again, because Kevin Durant could not get the job done for the Phoenix Suns this year in the NBA playoffs because they got swept to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And before I talk about what happened in that Timberwolves series, I also want to address what happened to Kevin Durant when he first got traded to the Phoenix Suns. Obviously, you look at how the Phoenix Suns got to the second round of the NBA playoffs. They lost to the Denver Nuggets in 6 games, despite having a roster filled with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and Chris Paul. I understand that their bench depth was not really good whatsoever, but when you trade for a player of Kevin Durant's caliber, Kevin Durant is supposed to be able to fill in the other needs that the Phoenix Suns needed to have filled up, and obviously Kevin Durant didn't get the job done for the Phoenix Suns. He put up great stats individually, but if you are an NBA superstar, putting up stats is the least we can expect out of you. That is the bare minimum in terms of expectations of a real superstar. When I am seeing a superstar play on the basketball court, I need to see the guy do more than just put up stats. I need to see him be a vocal leader for that team. I need to see the guy trying to play hard on defense, or at least just try to lead in some sort of way. There needs to be some intangibles being shown on the basketball court, and obviously Kevin Durant doesn't have the leadership that it takes in order to win a championship. He is a beta male by default, and when you are led by a beta male, you're not going to win championships more often than not. I'm not saying that you have to be vocal. I'm not saying you have to be loud all the time, but you have to show strong signs of leadership, and obviously Kevin Durant is not a natural born leader. We all know that Kevin Durant needs to be led by somebody that is an alpha dog in order to lead him to a championship. We know that Kevin Durant is a beta male, and obviously he showed that again this year while getting swept to the Minnesota Timberwolves. You look at how the Timberwolves roster isn't even that good compared to the Phoenix Suns roster. You look at how the Minnesota Timberwolves, yes, they got a rising superstar and Anthony Edwards, who I believe should be the face of the NBA. He had an amazing playoff series, and obviously he is an alpha leader that is very vocal with his teammates, and he is obviously getting the most out of his role players because their role players have been playing really good basketball. I've been really impressed with Anthony Edwards this year. This guy has made a major leap, and the NBA needs to market this guy as the face of the league because Anthony Edwards is actually one of the rare likable superstars in today's NBA. It's a shame that more NBA fans don't know who he is because Anthony Edwards is a really likable personality. I know I like Anthony Edwards, that's for sure, and if he can beat the Denver Nuggets in a 7-game series, obviously that is going to be tremendous news because the Denver Nuggets are one of the best teams when it comes to beating teams in a 7-game series the past 2 years, because that's why the Denver Nuggets, they won the NBA championship last season. It seems like they're on pace to do that again this year because right now it seems like they're going to finish the Lakers in 5 games. You also look at how Karl-Anthony Towns has been playing really good basketball for the Minnesota Timberwolves. He has showed up and balled out, and Anthony Edwards has elevated the game of Karl-Anthony Towns. You also look at how Rudy Gobert has played pretty good basketball for the Minnesota Timberwolves as well. He's on pace to win another Defensive Player of the Year award. I'm not saying I personally agree with that, but what I am saying about Rudy Gobert is that he has been playing good basketball for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And how about the emergence of Jaden McDaniels? Jaden McDaniels has been one of the better NBA players this year, and he has been doing a great job stretching the floor and playing great defense. The thing with the Minnesota Timberwolves is they actually play defense, and they do a lot of playing hard for each other. They don't try to chase down stats for each other. They try to win the game for each other, which means giving effort for one another, something that I can't say about the Phoenix Suns. And of course, you look at the emergence of Nico Alexander-Walker, I believe that's how you say his name. He was a solid contributor off the bench. And of course, Naz Reid is also a solid contributor off the bench. Of course, you can't also count out the veteran leadership of Mike Conley. Say what you want about Mike Conley, but Mike Conley is a solid NBA player. Basically, what I'm trying to say is the Minnesota Timberwolves played greater than the sum of their parts, and the role players showed up. As far as the Phoenix Suns, you can't say the same thing about the rest of the team. Yeah, Kevin Durant put up his own numbers and played great statistically. However, Kevin Durant was not a great leader, and he did not elevate his team when it mattered most. You also look at how Devin Booker, outside of Game 4, he sold the entire series. He was effectively useless when he was on the basketball court, at least offensively speaking. And of course, Bradley Beal did not play up to the standards that was set for Bradley Beal because Bradley Beal did not play good in this series at all. He sold the entire series. And of course, the other Suns role players just did not show up in the series whatsoever. They might as well have came to Cancun a bit early because of the fact that they just didn't show up at all. It also didn't help that Grayson Allen got hurt in the series, but it's not like Grayson Allen is supposed to be a difference maker for the Phoenix Suns because he's not a superstar player. Kevin Durant, on the other hand, is a superstar player. And the reason why I say Kevin Durant embarrassed himself in the NBA playoffs once again is because of the fact that he is supposedly one of the best players to have ever played the game of basketball, yet his team seems to always fall short whenever it matters most, and the guy seems to blame people around him, and he blames everyone but himself. And I have an issue with that because of the fact that you're supposed to take accountability as the leader of the basketball team. Last year, he got Monty Williams fired because he blamed him for his playoff failures. Now they ended up hiring Frank Vogel. It seems like Frank Vogel might get fired by the Suns, which is absolutely crazy to me. I don't think this was Frank Vogel's fault that the Phoenix Suns underachieved this year. I think it was the superstars' fault that the Phoenix Suns underachieved this season. And the fact that they're talking about firing Frank Vogel just shows you that Kevin Durant is a coach killer. It seems like wherever Kevin Durant goes to, he seems to get every coach fired. He seems to get all the players traded. It's almost like he's trying to copy the strategy of LeBron James, except obviously he is not as good as LeBron James. LeBron James is obviously better than Kevin Durant all time. That's why LeBron James can get away with these antics. As far as Kevin Durant, though, he's not as talented as LeBron James, which is why he's getting exposed earlier in the NBA playoffs. But at the end of the day, though, Kevin Durant has proven that he is an overrated basketball player and that we should not be taking him seriously in terms of conversations for top 10 basketball players of all time. I'm not even sure if I could rank Kevin Durant as a top 20 player of all time in NBA history because of the fact that he keeps disappointing teams in the NBA playoffs year in and year out. Yeah, I know he's getting his own individual numbers, but as far as elevating his teammates around him, Kevin Durant has just simply not done that on the Brooklyn Nets and the Phoenix Suns. It seems like ever since he left the Golden State Warriors, he has done nothing but embarrass himself year after year in terms of trying to get a championship, in terms of trying to form super teams, and falling short year after year after year while changing coaches all the time. It's almost like he's trying to copy the LeBron James strategy, but obviously that strategy has not worked whatsoever. So that is why Kevin Durant has ruined his legacy after getting swept in the NBA playoffs again, as he got swept to the Anthony Edwards-led Timberwolves team. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That'll be for the @Dustin Tran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @Dustin Tran and @Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @Dustin Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel Sports Guy Talking.